We're here with Andrew Diliddo at a event today at the Stark County District Library main branch, put on by the League of Women Voters, and the organization that was presenting was All Voting is Local. And during the session, Mr. Diliddo had shared with a group here, numbered about 24, maybe a few less than that, an experience he had at the polls here in Stark County. So, Mr. Diliddo, would you please share that with us?
Sure. A few years ago, I was voting in Alliance, Ohio, in the Democratic primary or the primary election. I desired to vote as a Democrat and voted late in the day when people are getting off work instead of real early in the morning when the polls first open. I voted at Alliance High School, and there were two precincts in the gymnasium of the high school that were right next to each other. Well, when I pulled my ballot up on the machine, I found that I did not have the Democratic ballot that I had requested, and instead had what's called a nonpartisan ballot, which only allows you to vote for issues but no people or candidates. And when I tried to advocate for myself regarding the fact that I had been given the wrong ballot, people in the adjacent precinct were voting at the same time, and they said, "That happened to me too." And so we had people from two adjacent precincts that were starting to realize that there was a problem, and it became a bit chaotic. There was some question as to whether we should be given provisional ballots or not, because we were given the wrong ballot to begin with. There was a local information technology person floating the area from the Board of Elections, and he came in and wanted to understand what the issue was and told me that I couldn't file a provisional ballot because it wouldn't be counted. And then shortly thereafter, because of the confusion, two plainclothes detectives came into the gymnasium, and a uniformed police officer.
Do you know if they each were from the Alliance Police Department?
Yes, they were from the Alliance Police Department, and they joined me in the voting booth. And by the time the detectives asked me to show my driver's license to the uniformed officer, which I did, and we were all discussing the problem I was having voting. Very quickly, the detectives realized that I knew more about election law than they did. And so everybody was trying to understand, what the issue was here. Ultimately, I did not get to cast my vote as I wanted. The Secretary of State's office.
So you ended up voting as a nonpartisan?
As a nonpartisan, yes. And the Secretary of State's office let me know that they do know that poll worker error increases later in the day. They know that from across the state when the poll workers are tired. And they have, some mismatches. And the mismatch is that you went to the desk and you requested a Democratic ballot, but then the machine gives a final tally, and there's a mismatch in the count because I was forced to vote a nonpartisan ballot. And so they knew about the mismatch both here in Stark County and at the state.
What election was this?
This was in in the primary of 2012.
And so did you have any further interaction on this matter with the Stark County Board of Elections?
Oh yeah, I did. I spoke with them, and
Them being what, Who at the Board of Elections?
At that time, the lady that I knew there was Jeanette. She's now
Jeanette Mullane?
Yeah,
I think she's the deputy director.
She's recently retired, actually.
Oh, okay.
There was an article in the repository about that recently.
Okay.
So yeah, I knew.
But at the time,
Yeah,
she
at
was
the
deputy
time.
director.
And so we talked a little bit about challenges with the poll workers, and one of my suggestions to Jeanette at that time was trying to recruit some poll workers from the student body at the University of Mount Union, because they're required to do a certain amount of community service, and it seemed like a good thing for students to get involved with. So Jeanette actually did follow up with that and go over to the University of Mount Union in an effort to recruit poll workers there.
Okay. Did you do anything beyond that with any Board of Elections, state or local?
No, I actually didn't. I was involved with a lot of other groups locally, and I heard about a number of ballots in Summit County that were not counted because the people, when they tried to mail the ballot in, didn't get it postmarked. So I became more aware that there were issues in many places, and the Secretary of State's office admitted to me that they were having difficulty in all 88 counties getting poll workers. Yeah.
So, in this particular session we had today, was it helpful?
Very helpful. I'm very thankful to see that some of these issues are being recognized, and that people are becoming aware of them, and there's actually organizations forming to protect our votes. And to be honest with you, the troubles I've had voting, and this is only one, I've had other instances
Before this one?
before this one, and
In Stark County?
no, in another state.
Okay.
And it's very concerning because this is one of our most cherished privileges as a citizen, and to go in and as a Caucasian, when I come out and I see what has happened to me, I think, if I'm having this kind of trouble, what kind of trouble must people of color be having?
Just in an overall sense, after the fact, how would you rate your estimate of your interchange with the Stark County Board of Election? Good, neutral, negative? How would you rate it?
Well,
Let's scale on a scale of 1 to 10.
right. That's sort of easy right now because we've just come off of election where I did vote in person at the Board of Elections early. I found that experience to be quite easy. The check-in was easy.
But going back to the problem situation,
Right.
are you satisfied on how your interface with the Stark County Board of Elections came off?
No, I was not satisfied with the result where I did not get to vote. Obviously, the ballot that I wanted to vote. And because of that, I've taken personal measures in terms of not voting anymore at polling locations and voting early, either directly at the Board of Elections or having a ballot mailed to my home where I can spend some time with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.